The perpetual twilight of Neo-Kyoto was a constant, metallic hum against the reinforced triple-pane window of Kaito Ishikawa's apartment. Below, the city sprawled like a phosphorescent circuit board, millions of data streams and human lives intertwining in a dizzying display of progress and prosperity. Yet, within the confines of his modest living space, Kaito felt only the silence, a vast, echoing chamber for his profound loneliness. His apartment, despite its prime location overlooking the lower tiers of the city, was a monument to neglect. Stacks of unread data slates teetered precariously on end tables, dust motes danced in the slivers of artificial sunlight that pierced the perpetual city glow, and the faint, persistent scent of instant noodles lingered in the air. Kaito, a brilliant freelance software developer, could craft complex algorithms with elegant precision, but the algorithms of daily life, laundry cycles, grocery lists, dusting, remained stubbornly beyond his grasp. His parents had passed 5 years ago, leaving him with a comfortable inheritance and a gaping void in his life. He'd always been socially awkward, finding solace in the logical world of code rather than the unpredictable currents of human interaction. Now, without their gentle prodding and the comforting, if sometimes stifling, rhythm of family life, he had retreated into himself, his routines as rigid as his code: wake, coffee, code, prepackaged meal, code, sleep, repeat. The loneliness, however, had begun to gnaw at him with an unbearable intensity. It wasn't just the quiet, it was the sheer weight of it, the understanding that no one would notice if he didn't emerge from his apartment for days, weeks even. He missed the subtle hum of another presence, the shared space, the casual murmur of conversation that didn't involve troubleshooting network protocols. He tried virtual companions, of course. Hyper-realistic AI avatars that could mimic emotional responses, engage in intelligent conversation, even play games. But they were just that, mimics. Their algorithms, no matter how advanced, couldn't replicate the quiet, messy humanity he craved. And so, after weeks of agonizing internal debate, he'd found himself on the Neo-Kyoto Domestic Companion Registry, his cursor hovering over the purchase contract button. The idea of a domestic companion felt clinical. In 2077, in the glittering, stratified society of Neo-Kyoto, such contracts were a legal, thriving industry, regulated by corporate entities that ensured quality and adherence to strict ethical guidelines, at least on paper. For a substantial sum, often amortized over years, one could lease a highly trained human companion for household management and emotional support. They were not servants in the traditional sense, nor were they partners. They were, theoretically, a bridge over the chasm of modern loneliness, a practical solution to a growing societal problem. Kaito chose the 3-year, 3,000 contract, the longest, most comprehensive option available. It bought stability, he told himself. It bought sanity. The confirmation email arrived instantly, sterile and efficient. Your domestic companion, Elara ID, NX 734, will arrive at your residence, Unit 17B, Solstice Tower, on August 15, 2077 at 9 o'clock local time. Please ensure your dwelling is accessible. Accessible. Kaito glanced around his apartment. The word felt like a judgment. He spent the next 2 days in a frenzy of half-hearted cleaning, shoving overflowing laundry baskets into the utility closet and stacking data slates into tottering columns. He even ordered a new hydroponic herb garden, hoping the verdant scent of basil and mint would somehow mask the deeper disarray. Promptly at 9 a.m. on the designated day, a chime echoed through his apartment. It wasn't the usual data carrier drone or grocery delivery, but a melodic, old-fashioned doorbell. Kaito, still in his coding sleep shirt, felt a knot tighten in his stomach. This was it. The moment his solitary life would irrevocably change. He opened the door to reveal a woman standing in the hallway, illuminated by the clean, neutral light of the corridor. She was perhaps in her mid-20s, with an aura of serene competence that immediately made Kaito feel even more disheveled. Her uniform was a crisp, charcoal gray tunic and trousers, accented with a subtle silver insignia, the mark of the Neo-Kyoto Companion Services. Her dark hair was neatly pulled back, framing a face that was both gentle and observant, with eyes the color of warm amber. "Good morning, Mr. Ishikawa," she said, her voice soft but clear, like the chime of a wind bell. "I am Elara, ID NX 734. I'm here to commence my domestic companion contract." She held out a compact, holographic identity card. Kaito fumbled with the digital scanner on his doorframe, his cheeks heating. "Ah, yes. Kaito, please come in." Elara stepped inside, her gaze sweeping over the apartment with an almost imperceptible efficiency. Kaito could almost feel her processing the chaos, cataloging the dust, the disarray, the faint aroma of old takeout. Yet, her expression remained calm, devoid of judgment. "Thank you, Mr. Ishikawa," she said, placing a small, elegant data tablet and a compact case on the entrance credenza. "My primary directive is to ensure your domestic environment fosters well-being and productivity. I will begin by familiarizing myself with the apartment systems and your established routines. May I ask for a brief tour?" Kaito led her through the apartment, acutely aware of his own untidiness. He pointed out the kitchen, its surfaces cluttered with forgotten mugs and stray protein bar wrappers. He gestured to the living room, a battlefield of abandoned projects and half-read data slates. He even showed her his compact bedroom, where an unmade bed seemed to sag with the weight of his own inertia. Elara listened attentively, her amber eyes missing nothing, yet offering no comment. She simply nodded, occasionally making a note on her tablet. "Understood," she concluded, returning to the living room. "I will compile a preliminary assessment and propose an initial schedule. Do you have any immediate preferences or concerns, Mr. Ishikawa?" "Kaito is fine," he mumbled. "No, not really. Just make it livable. And maybe less lonely." The last part slipped out before he could catch it, a raw, vulnerable admission. Elara paused, her gaze softening. "My contract includes provisions for emotional support, Kaito. I am trained to be a discreet and attentive presence." She offered a small, reassuring smile. "I will do my best to make this a comfortable home for you." That first week was a revelation. Elara moved through his apartment like a quiet, efficient spirit. Kaito would be engrossed in a complex algorithm, only to surface hours later and discover his coffee mug had been silently replaced with a fresh, steaming cup, or that the mountain of laundry in the corner had vanished, only to reappear later, folded and put away in his drawers. She was meticulous without being intrusive. The kitchen, once a biochemical hazard zone, now gleamed. The hydroponic garden, which Kaito had mostly ignored, was thriving under her care, its basil leaves fragrant and vibrant. Dust disappeared from the intricate carvings on his antique data scrolls. His bed, for the first time in years, was always perfectly made, the sheets crisp and cool. But it wasn't just the cleanliness. It was the atmosphere. The apartment felt lighter. There was a subtle order, a quiet rhythm that began to permeate Kaito's own existence. He found himself eating at a proper table instead of hunched over his console. He began to sleep better, no longer haunted by the oppressive silence. Elara's presence was a comfort he hadn't known he desperately needed. She never interrupted his work, but she was always there, a soft rustle of movement, the gentle clink of dishes, the faint, pleasant scent of citrus-based cleaner. When he did speak to her, usually to ask a mundane question, she would answer with quiet intelligence and genuine attentiveness. She remembered his preferences without him having to state them twice, his unsweetened synth coffee, the temperature he preferred for his bath, his aversion to spicy food. One evening, Kaito emerged from his coding den, feeling the familiar ache in his shoulders. He found Elara in the living room, meticulously polishing the screen of his large entertainment console. The soft glow from the city outside cast her silhouette in a serene light. "Elara," he said, and she turned, her movements fluid and unhurried. "Thank you for everything." She offered him a small, warm smile. "It is my pleasure, Kaito. Your well-being is my purpose." He hesitated, then found himself saying, "It's more than just well-being. It's peace. I haven't felt this kind of peace in a long time." Her eyes met his, and for a fleeting moment, He saw something beyond professional composure, a flicker of genuine understanding, perhaps even empathy. "I'm glad, Kaito." He returned to his den, but not to work. Instead, he simply sat, looking at the city lights. The apartment felt different now. It was no longer just a space where he existed. It was becoming a home. Elara had woven a quiet magic, transforming the oppressive silence into a comforting quietude, the chaotic mess into a haven of order. He felt a profound sense of relief, a fragile hope unfurling in his chest. Finally, he thought, a corner of his life was stable, genuinely his. The thought settled over him like a warm blanket, a welcome shield against the lingering echoes of loneliness. This quiet, unassuming comfort, he realized, was exactly what he had been missing. The rhythmic whir of the automated dustbot was the only sound that pierced the quiet hum of Kaito's apartment, a stark contrast to the lively chaos of Neo-Kyoto just outside his sound-dampened windows. He traced a line of code on his holoscreen, debugging a particularly stubborn subroutine for a local indie game studio. His work, once a solitary refuge, now felt less like an escape and more like a quiet contribution, thanks to Elara. Her presence had woven itself seamlessly into the fabric of his days. The aroma of freshly brewed tea often drifted from the kitchen when he hit a mental block. His clothes were always perfectly ironed, his desk miraculously decluttered. Even the plants in the living area, once sad, wilting things, now thrived under her gentle care. Elara was more than a maid. She was a silent, graceful anchor, her quiet efficiency a balm to his frayed nerves. "Kaito-sama, your afternoon tea." Elara's soft voice broke his concentration. He looked up to find her standing beside his workstation, a delicate ceramic mug steaming gently on a tray. Her movements were fluid, her expression serene, a comforting constant. Thank you, Elara," Kaito replied, a genuine smile touching his lips. He took the mug, his fingers wrapping around its warmth. "I was just about to lose myself in this bug." Elara offered a small, knowing smile. A brief respite often clears the mind. "And you have a new priority message from your corporate account. Marked urgent, personal. Kaito's brow furrowed. Corporate accounts rarely sent personal, urgent messages. He usually dealt with smaller studios, direct contracts. He tapped the notification icon on his wristcom. A single, elegantly designed message unfolded, bearing the insignia of ThorneTech, one of the largest conglomerates in Neo-Kyoto. And the sender? Seraphina Thorne herself. To Mr. Kaito Ishikawa, the message began, its tone formal yet strangely intimate. "It has come to my attention that your unique expertise in neural net optimization is precisely what ThorneTech requires for a highly sensitive, next-gen project. I am personally extending an invitation for a confidential consultation. My assistant will contact you to arrange a suitable time. Compensation will be generous, commensurate with the discretion and talent required." Kaito reread the message, a peculiar mix of awe and trepidation washing over him. ThorneTech was a titan. Seraphina Thorne was a legend, rumored to be as ruthless as she was brilliant, the youngest CEO to ever helm such a sprawling empire. Why would she, personally, seek him out for a project? He was good, yes, but hardly a corporate superstar. His work was niche, mostly obscure, and highly specialized. ThorneTech? Elara inquired, her tone even, but Kaito caught a faint flicker of curiosity in her eyes. "Yes, Seraphina Thorne herself. Wants me for some sensitive, next-gen project," Kaito mumbled, still processing. It seems too big for me." Elara tilted her head slightly. "Perhaps your skills are more widely recognized than you realize, Kaito-sama. Or perhaps, the project truly requires a specific touch that only you possess." Her words, as always, were reassuringly logical. Later that evening, an invitation for a virtual meeting appeared in his inbox, scheduled for the following afternoon. Kaito found himself pacing. The offer was too lucrative to ignore, the prestige immense, but a prickle of unease had begun to bloom in his chest. The next day, Kaito sat before his holoscreen, Elara having thoughtfully prepared a glass of chilled water beside him. A chime signaled the start of the meeting. The screen shimmered, coalescing into the image of Seraphina Thorne. She was even more striking than her public holocast suggested. Her auburn hair, pulled back in a severe yet elegant style, framed a face of startling beauty, sharp cheekbones, piercing emerald eyes that seemed to miss nothing, and lips the color of ripe berries. She wore a dark, form-fitting suit that exuded power and sophistication. Mr. Ishikawa, Seraphina's voice was smooth, cultured, and carried an almost hypnotic resonance. "Thank you for accepting my invitation." "Miss Thorne," Kaito replied, feeling a sudden surge of his old awkwardness. He cleared his throat. "The pleasure is all mine. I confess, I'm surprised you'd reach out to me personally." A faint smile played on her lips. "Surprised? I believe in directness, Mr. Ishikawa. And I believe in securing the best. Your work on the Project Nightingale neural net algorithm for the Ethelred initiative, though obscure, showcased a remarkable intuitive grasp of data flow optimization. Your approach to mitigating latency in multi-layered networks is quite unique." Kaito blinked. Project Nightingale? That was a highly specialized, closed-source project he'd done for a private research consortium nearly 3 years ago, under an NDA. It was barely public knowledge. How did she know that much detail? I'm flattered you're familiar with my older work, Miss Thorne, Kaito managed, a knot forming in his stomach. "I make it my business to be familiar with talent," she said, her gaze unwavering. "Especially talent that aligns with my vision for ThorneTech's future. I understand you prefer to work remotely from your cozy apartment in District 7. A quiet, unassuming space, perfect for deep concentration." Kaito's heart skipped a beat. His address was publicly available, yes, but her description of his apartment as cozy and unassuming felt far too personal. It wasn't a public fact. Had she looked up architectural plans? Or perhaps... "Indeed," he said, forcing a casual tone. "It suits my working style. And I also understand you've recently acquired a domestic companion, Elara," Seraphina continued, her eyes briefly flicking towards the periphery of Kaito's screen, as if she could see beyond his webcam. "A lovely choice. Her model is known for her exceptional organizational skills and comforting demeanor. I recall a specific anecdote about her perfectly brewing your jasmine tea to a precise 65 degrees Celsius after your last late-night coding session." Kaito froze. His jasmine tea. The precise temperature. That was something only Elara knew, and perhaps he had mentioned it once or twice, half-jokingly, to her. It was not public information. It wasn't even in his personal data profile for his companion contract. A chill snaked down his spine, a sense of invasive violation. Elara, who had been quietly wiping down a nearby surface, paused. Her back was to Kaito, but he sensed her stillness. "Miss Thorne, with all due respect," Kaito said, trying to keep his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. "While I appreciate your thoroughness, some of that information seems unusually specific. Almost personal." Seraphina's smile widened, but it didn't reach her eyes. Those emerald depths held an intensity that was unnerving. "When one is building a future, Mr. Ishikawa, one must know every facet of the architects involved. And you, Kaito, are an architect of great potential. Potential I intend to cultivate." The way she said his first name, the subtle emphasis on Kaito, sent another shiver through him. It was a familiarity that felt earned, not assumed, and yet it was entirely unearned. "The project I have in mind is ambitious," Seraphina continued, leaning slightly closer to her camera, as if confiding a secret. "It requires someone with your specific blend of reclusive genius and, shall we say, a certain detachment from conventional corporate structures. You are unburdened by external loyalties, Mr. Ishikawa. You are, in essence, perfectly malleable." Malleable. The word hung in the air, heavy and disturbing. It wasn't a compliment. It felt like a pronouncement. "I've prepared a preliminary proposal," she said, an encrypted data packet appearing in his comlink. "Review it. And consider the possibilities. Not just for ThorneTech, but for yourself. I believe we share a certain vision. A destiny, perhaps." The meeting ended abruptly, the screen returning to Kaito's own reflection. He stared at his own pale face, his mind racing. Destiny? Malleable? Jasmine tea at 65 degrees Celsius? Elara turned, her expression unreadable. "Is everything all right, Kaito-sama?" Kaito ran a hand through his hair, feeling suddenly exposed, like an insect under a microscope. "No, Elara. I don't think it is." He looked at the data packet, then back at his screen. "She knows things, Elara. Things she shouldn't. Things I never told anyone." The quiet comfort of his apartment, which Elara had so carefully cultivated, now felt like a fragile illusion. The sense of being watched, once a fleeting, paranoid thought, now solidified into a chilling certainty. Seraphina Thorne wasn't just a potential client, she was an enigma, a predator. And Kaito, with his quiet routines and newfound comfort, felt terrifyingly like her chosen prey. He was no longer just lonely, he was being hunted. What did she truly want? And how much did she already know? The question echoed in the sudden, deafening silence of his apartment, a silence that now felt less like peace and more like the bated breath before a storm. The air in Kaito's modest apartment, usually a haven of digital quietude, now felt subtly compromised. The memory of Seraphina Thorne's knowing gaze, her almost psychic awareness of his routines, gnawed at him like a persistent, low-frequency hum. He'd tried to dismiss it, to attribute it to coincidence, or perhaps the meticulous data mining typical of a corporate titan. But the unease lingered, a cold whisper against the comforting whir of his apartment's air purifier, a shadow stretching across the meticulously organized surfaces of his life. Elara, ever efficient, moved through his space with quiet grace, her actions a balm to his frayed nerves. The aroma of freshly brewed sencha, the perfectly folded laundry, the meticulous organization of his coding station, each act was a tiny rebellion against the unsettling chaos Seraphina's presence had introduced. He watched her from the periphery of his vision, her silhouette a gentle line against the shimmering panorama of Neo-Kyoto. In her steady, unassuming presence, he found a fragile sense of peace, a much-needed anchor in a world suddenly tilting off its axis. A warmth, unfamiliar yet comforting, bloomed in his chest. But the coincidences continued, escalating from subtle hints to brazen declarations of omnipresence. An obscure legacy software component he'd been struggling to locate for a personal passion project suddenly appeared in his weekly curated online recommendations, pushed directly from ThorneTech's subsidiary. The recommendation came with a personalized note, its script elegant and undeniably Seraphina's. "Perhaps this will accelerate your progress, Kaito. SD." Then, his preferred brand of obscure, single-origin coffee, which he'd only mentioned to Elara in passing days ago, was delivered to his doorstep, a complimentary gift from an anonymous admirer. The label, however, bore a subtle, etched ThorneTech logo. Too many threads were tying back to the Heiress, weaving a net around him. He found himself checking the subtle shimmer of the privacy film on his windows, glancing at the innocuous surveillance drones that flitted like metallic insects across the azure sky. Were their blank, optical eyes always on him? The feeling of being watched intensified, shifting from an abstract possibility, an unavoidable reality of Neo-Kyoto, to a chilling, personal certainty. His reclusive nature, once a shield, now felt like an open book, its most intimate pages laid bare for someone else to read. One crisp morning, amidst the digital deluge of his inbox, an elegant, gilded envelope arrived via private drone delivery. Not email, not a regular courier, but a ThorneTech branded, biometric-locked drone that only responded to Kaito's retinal scan. Inside was an invitation, embossed with the ThorneTech emblem in a pearlescent sheen, a discreet request for his presence at a private dinner at the Thorne Tower's sky-high penthouse to discuss an exclusive partnership opportunity. The date was tonight. The implied ultimatum, carefully veiled but palpable, hung heavy in the air. Kaito clutched the heavy cardstock, his fingers trembling slightly. He knew, with a certainty that iced his blood, that this wasn't about a partnership. This was about her. He glanced at Elara, who was meticulously polishing the hollow display table, her movements fluid and unhurried. Her serene expression was a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside him. He wanted to confide in her, to seek her quiet counsel, but something held him back, A primal fear that speaking Seraphina's name might somehow draw her closer, might expose Elara to the very danger he was beginning to perceive. He dressed in his least rumpled suit, feeling less like a respected professional and more like a lamb led to a meticulously prepared slaughter. The Thorne Tower, a needle of obsidian and light piercing the clouds, loomed over Neo-Kyoto, a monument to unchecked power. The automated vehicle hummed him upwards, past layers of affluent districts, through bands of perpetual twilight, until he was alone in a silent, opulent penthouse foyer, bathed in the soft, ethereal glow of a colossal moon gate. Seraphina awaited him, a striking silhouette against the glittering expanse of the city lights. She was seated at a dinner table set for two, framed by the panoramic view. She wore a dress the color of midnight, subtly shimmering with embedded microfibers, and her eyes, usually sharp and calculating, now held an unsettling, intense warmth. "Kaito," she said, her voice a low purr that seemed to caress his name. "Thank you for coming. I knew you would." He stood awkwardly, unable to move past the threshold of the dining area. "Miss Thorne, about this partnership." She chuckled, a delicate, almost musical sound that sent a faint chill down his spine. "Please, Kaito. Seraphina. And there's no need for pretense. We both know why you're here. This isn't about business, not in the traditional sense. It's about us." Kaito's breath hitched, caught in his throat. "Us." She rose, gliding towards him with an unnerving grace. Her scent, a subtle blend of rare orchids and ozone, enveloped him, intoxicating and disorienting. "Yes, us. Kaito, I've been watching you. For a long time. Longer than you could possibly imagine." She gestured to a discreet wall panel, which shimmered to life, displaying a series of crystal-clear images. Kaito, alone in his apartment, hunched over his coding station late into the night. Kaito, nursing a mug of lukewarm coffee, lost in thought. Kaito, even sharing a quiet smile with Elara as she cleaned. Every vulnerable, private moment of his secluded life laid bare. His face paled, the blood draining from his features. How did you get these?" His voice was barely a whisper. Her smile widened, devoid of humor, almost predatory. "ThorneTech developed the infrastructure, Kaito. The very system that powers Neo-Kyoto's omnipresent surveillance, the embedded sensors, the predictive algorithms. It's all interconnected. And when I saw you, a singular anomaly in a city of predictable patterns, a genius hidden behind a veil of loneliness, striving for genuine connection, I knew. You were meant for me. Meant for you." His voice was a strangled gasp of disbelief. "Absolutely. Your quiet strength, your intellect, your profound need for true connection. It resonated with something deep within me, something I've always sought. I decided then that you would be mine. And I don't leave things to chance." She paused, her eyes piercing him, seeing into the very core of his being. "Remember that domestic companion contract you purchased? The one for Elara?" A cold dread coiled in his stomach, tightening with each beat of his accelerating heart. "What about it?" "It was a custom contract. Not available on the open market. I orchestrated it." She stepped closer, her hand gently, possessively, tracing the lapel of his suit. "I specifically designed Elara's profile, her kindness, her efficiency, her quiet demeanor, to be precisely what you needed. I chose her, Kaito, and I placed her in your home. A perfectly crafted anchor for your perfect life, under my watchful eye. All part of my design." The world tilted on its axis, his reality shattering into a million pieces. Elara. His sanctuary. The one genuine, unmanipulated comfort in his life. A carefully chosen gift from his tormentor. He stumbled back, away from her touch, his mind reeling, desperately trying to construct a coherent thought amidst the onslaught. You can't mean that. Elara, she's real. She's not just some pawn, some piece in your game." Seraphina's smile tightened, a flicker of something intensely possessive, almost jealous, in her eyes. "Oh, she's real, Kaito. Perfectly real. And perfectly functional. But her purpose was to bring you comfort, to prepare you for us. Now that you know the truth, now that our connection is revealed, her utility is diminishing." The implication hung heavy in the air, a silent, chilling threat. Diminishing utility. What did that mean for Elara? His heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the silence of the luxurious penthouse. Seraphina wasn't just observing him. She had woven herself into the very fabric of his existence, controlling his environment, manipulating his closest connection, all for her own terrifying obsession. His mind raced, a frantic scramble for an escape route, for a means of resistance. But there was none. ThorneTech owned Neo-Kyoto. She owned the system. She owned the contract. And by extension, she believed she owned him. The idea of reaching out for help seemed utterly futile. Who would challenge Seraphina Thorne, the omnipotent heiress of the city? Who would even believe him, a reclusive programmer, against her meticulously crafted reality? He felt a profound, crushing helplessness. The walls of the opulent penthouse, once a symbol of insurmountable power, now felt like the smooth, inescapable sides of a gilded cage. He had sought connection, had found a fragile sense of peace with Elara, and now that peace was threatened, not by random chance, but by a calculated, all-consuming, obsessive love. He had been passive, retreating into a shell, and now the world had come crashing down on him, personified by the smiling, beautiful heiress before him. Fear for Elara, raw and visceral, clawed at his throat. He had to protect her. But how? He was cornered, exposed, and utterly alone, trapped in the glittering, insidious web of Seraphina's terrifying affection. His life, his freedom, and Elara's very safety all hung by a precarious thread, delicately balanced on the whim of a woman who saw him as her ultimate, inescapable possession. The cool, synthetic hum of Kaito's apartment had never felt so oppressive. Seraphina's words, a silken cord wrapped around his throat, echoed in the sterile air. Elara was chosen for you, Kaito. Every step, every quiet comfort, orchestrated. He stared at the holographic clock, its luminous digits mocking his sleepless night. It was 7 o'clock. Elara would be stirring soon, her routine a gentle, unwavering beacon in the chaos Seraphina had unleashed. How could he look at her, knowing she was a meticulously placed piece in Seraphina's elaborate game? The thought curdled in his stomach. Yet, the warmth, the genuine care she exhibited, felt too real to be mere programming. Or was that just another layer of the manipulation? He needed air, and more importantly, he needed perspective that didn't come filtered through his own rising panic. Slipping on a jacket, Kaito left a quick note for Elara, a vague excuse about an early client meeting, and headed for the lift. The neon arteries of Neo-Kyoto were just beginning to pulse with the day's frantic energy as he descended to the street level. His destination, Hiroshi's cafe. The scent of roasting beans and aged wood was a welcome anchor in the shifting currents of his mind. Hiroshi, his face a roadmap of time, was meticulously wiping down the counter, his movements slow and deliberate. Kaito-kun, Hiroshi greeted, his voice a gravelly murmur, "You look as though you've been wrestling a ghost. Or perhaps, a dragon." Kaito slumped onto a stool, the worn leather a familiar comfort. "Something like that, Hiroshi-san." He ordered his usual, a strong, bitter brew that matched the taste in his mouth. I have a problem. A client. Very powerful. And possessive." He hesitated, searching for words that wouldn't betray Elara's contract details, yet conveyed the gravity. "They've made it clear they believe they own my life. My choices. And they're involving someone else, someone I care about. They orchestrated their presence in my life, Hiroshi-san." Hiroshi's gaze, ancient and knowing, seemed to pierce through Kaito's guarded words. He placed the steaming cup before him. The gilded cage. Many of the city's finest live in them, Kaito-kun. You think you've bought convenience, security. But often, what you buy is a leash, and the one who holds it demands far more than payment. He paused, stirring his own tea with a tiny silver spoon. "So, you've discovered your gilded cage is actually a trap, and now someone else is inside with you." Kaito nodded miserably. "I don't know what to do. They're threatening to control everything, including this other person. I feel powerless." Hiroshi leaned forward, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "Powerlessness is a choice, Kaito-kun. A comfortable one, perhaps, but a choice nonetheless. A cage has bars, yes, but often it has a door. The powerful are used to getting what they want. They see resistance as a game or a flaw to be corrected. But they rarely expect defiance from those they deem their property. True defiance is not a tantrum. It is a quiet, unwavering stand for what you hold dear. He met Kaito's eyes. If you truly value this person, Kaito-kun, you must ask yourself, what is the cost of your silence? Of your passivity? Is it worth their freedom? Their happiness? Your own soul? A cage can be opened, but only if the one inside finds the courage to push against the door. Or, for those outside, to tear it down. The words struck Kaito with the force of a physical blow. What is the cost of your silence? The image of Elara's serene face, the quiet hum of her presence, flashed in his mind. He wasn't just fighting for himself anymore. He was fighting for her. For the genuine connection, however fragile, that had blossomed between them. Hiroshi's advice wasn't a tactical guide, it was a moral imperative. He had to stand firm. Later that day, back in his apartment, the decision solidified. He couldn't hide. He couldn't run. He had to face Seraphina. He took a deep breath, the air tasting metallic, and initiated a direct video call to Seraphina Thorne. His fingers trembled slightly as the connection established. Seraphina's face materialized, framed by the opulent, abstract art of her private gallery. She was, as always, impossibly beautiful, her dark hair a sleek curtain around eyes that held an unsettling intensity. A soft, knowing smile played on her lips, as if she'd been expecting his call. "Kaito," she purred, her voice like liquid silk. "I was wondering when you would reach out." "Did my honesty overwhelm you?" "Seraphina," Kaito began, trying to inject a firmness into his voice he didn't entirely feel. "What you said, what you've done, it's unacceptable. Elara is not a commodity for you to manipulate. Her contract, our arrangement, is private. You have no right to interfere." Her smile widened fractionally, a hint of something sharp beneath the surface. "No right?" "Kaito, my dear, the world doesn't operate on rights when one possesses the means to redefine them. I provided you with Elara. I chose her for you. You believe you selected her? A charming fiction. I simply ensured she was the ideal choice, perfectly suited to your needs, anticipating every one of your quiet desires." "That doesn't make it right," Kaito insisted, his voice rising, a tremor of frustration entering his tone. "It's an invasion. A betrayal. I demand you cease this interference. You have no claim over Elara or over my life." Seraphina let out a soft, melodious laugh, a sound that grated on Kaito's nerves. "Demand? Kaito, you misunderstand our dynamic entirely. There is no demand you can make that I haven't already accounted for. You are precious to me. Our connection is paramount. And anything that threatens it must be corrected." Her eyes, usually so captivating, hardened. "Elara, while a delightful addition, serves her purpose. She brought you to me more fully. But do you truly believe her continued presence is solely her choice?" A cold dread seeped into Kaito's bones. "What are you talking about?" "Her contract, Kaito, is managed by a subsidiary of ThorneTech. A very valuable subsidiary," Seraphina explained, her voice losing its playful edge, becoming steely. "I could, with a single directive, recall her. Reassign her to a less pleasant environment. Terminate her service, citing breach of conduct for, say, inappropriate fraternization. Or simply make her life exceedingly difficult. She is a domestic companion, Kaito. She exists to serve. And if her presence causes a disturbance in our trajectory, she can be removed." The words hung in the air, a venomous cloud. Kaito felt his breath catch in his throat. This wasn't just a threat to his peace, it was a direct assault on Elara's well-being, her livelihood, her very existence within her structured world. He had tried to set boundaries, and in response, Seraphina had just revealed her sharpest claw, aimed directly at the person he had come to rely on, to care for. "You wouldn't," Kaito whispered, the bravado draining from him, replaced by raw fear. "She's innocent in all of this." "Innocent?" Seraphina's expression was unreadable, a mask of serene power. "Perhaps. But a stray dog caught in the path of a speeding hovercar is also innocent." The outcome, however, is immutable. Think carefully, Kaito. Do you truly wish to gamble with Elara's future for the sake of an abstract principle of autonomy you barely seem to grasp yourself? Your freedom means nothing if it leads to the suffering of others, especially someone I was kind enough to place in your care. A surge of protective fury, cold and clear, ignited in Kaito's chest, burning away the last vestiges of his passivity. He saw, in that moment, the true face of Seraphina's obsession. It wasn't love, it was control, absolute and suffocating. And Elara, kind, gentle Elara, was merely a lever, a tool to apply pressure. The thought of her facing hardship, of her quiet world being shattered because of him, because of Seraphina's twisted desires, was unbearable. He couldn't let it happen. He wouldn't let it happen. The video call disconnected abruptly, Seraphina's chilling pronouncement echoing in the sudden silence. Kaito stood frozen, his hands clenched into fists, knuckles white. The air felt thin, dangerous. His attempts at boundaries had not worked. They had only revealed the depth of Seraphina's ruthlessness and the terrifying vulnerability of Elara. He was cornered, but the fear for Elara had ignited something new, something fierce, within him. He wouldn't let her be a casualty of Seraphina's obsession. He had to fight, not just for his own freedom, but for Elara's safety, even if it meant confronting the full, terrifying power of ThorneTech and its heiress. He had to make a choice, and quickly, before Seraphina made it for him. He would not allow Elara to become the collateral damage of his long-held passivity. The dull glow of Neo-Kyoto's perpetual twilight filtered through Kaito's apartment window, casting long, bruised shadows across his sparse living room. He hadn't slept, not truly. Hiroshi's words, sometimes, the only way to protect what you value is to become dangerous yourself, echoed in the hollow spaces of his mind. No longer an abstract piece of advice, but a command etched in fire. The raw fear for Elara, a cold knot in his stomach yesterday, had transmuted into a searing resolve. He wasn't the withdrawn, passive Kaito anymore. The image of Seraphina's manicured hand closing around Elara's wrist, the icy threat in her voice, had been a catalyst. He finally understood. His inaction wasn't safeguarding Elara, it was putting her in greater peril. He had inadvertently drawn her into his orbit, and now it was his responsibility to protect her. As the synthetic birdsong chimed from the kitchen, signaling the start of a new day, Kaito rose. His movements were deliberate, each step weighted with newfound purpose. He found Elara setting out his usual breakfast, a nutrient paste, perfectly warmed, and a carefully segmented piece of synthetic fruit. Her uniform was immaculate, her movements fluid and efficient. Her gaze met his briefly, a flicker of concern in her usually placid eyes. She knew. She always knew. "Good morning, Kaito-san," she said, her voice soft, a soothing counterpoint to the storm raging within him. He sat, picking at the paste. "Elara," he began, his voice rougher than he intended. She paused, her hand hovering over the smart brew machine, waiting. "Thank you. For everything." Her lips curved in a faint, genuine smile. "It is my duty, Kaito-san. And my pleasure." But it wasn't just duty anymore, was it? For either of them. He saw the genuine care in her eyes, the subtle ways she adapted his routine, anticipated his unspoken needs, not because her contract dictated it, but because she cared. It was a connection far deeper than the transactional nature of her service, a warmth that had slowly thawed the ice around his heart. Seraphina saw Elara as a tool, an obstacle. Kaito saw her as the anchor he hadn't known he needed, a human beacon in his desolate existence. He pushed the plate away, his appetite gone. "Seraphina's influence, it's too much. I can't let her continue to dictate my life, or yours." Elara's gaze sharpened, her posture straightening almost imperceptibly. "Kaito-san, I understand your concerns. However, my contract is with ThorneTech. My well-being is secondary to the terms of service." "Not to me," Kaito interrupted, the words a raw, honest surge of feeling. He stood, moving around the table, taking her hands in his. Her skin was warm, soft. It was the first time he had initiated such direct physical contact. Her eyes widened slightly, but she didn't pull away. "Not to me, Elara. You're not just a contract. You're real." And I won't let anyone use you or hurt you because of me. A tremor ran through her fingers. Kaito-san. Her voice was barely a whisper. He looked into her eyes, seeing a vulnerability there that mirrored his own. I'm going to end this. I don't know how yet, but I will. And I need you to know, whatever happens, I want you to be safe. I want you to be free. Before Elara could respond, the smart panel chimed, an urgent, insistent tone. Seraphina. Kaito's jaw tightened. He should have known she wouldn't wait. He tapped the panel, Seraphina's perfectly composed face materializing on the screen. She wore a subtle, almost innocent smile, but her eyes held a predatory gleam. Kaito-kun, she purred, the honorific grating on his ears. Such an early riser. I trust you've considered my generous offer. Kaito stepped closer to the screen, his shadow falling across Elara, who stood silently behind him. He looked directly into Seraphina's eyes, channeling every ounce of his newfound resolve. I have, he said, his voice steady, devoid of the tremor she might have expected. And I reject it. Seraphina's smile faltered, a hairline crack appearing in her facade. Reject? Kaito-kun, you misunderstand. This isn't a negotiation. It's an opportunity. For us. For our future. There is no us, Seraphina, Kaito stated, each word a hammer blow against her carefully constructed fantasy. And I will define my own future. Not you. Not ThorneTech. A flicker of genuine surprise, then cold anger, crossed her face. You're being foolish, Kaito. Impulsive. You're jeopardizing everything, your career, your comfort, your companion. Her gaze flicked to Elara, lingering with malicious intent. Domestic companion contracts are robust, Kaito. Breaching their terms has consequences. And if a companion were to become unstable or disobedient, ThorneTech has protocols. Kaito's hands clenched into fists, but he kept his voice level. Don't you dare threaten her. Elara is under my protection. Seraphina scoffed, a short, sharp sound devoid of humor. Your protection? From me? Kaito, you live in an apartment I could repossess with a single command. Your livelihood is intertwined with networks I control. You think a freelance developer stands a chance against ThorneTech? Perhaps not alone, Kaito conceded, a new idea sparking. But I'm not alone. And I'm not the only one who values autonomy. There are other companies, Seraphina. Other clients. And I will find a way to sever every tie to ThorneTech, no matter what it takes. He took a breath, the ultimate declaration forming on his lips. And as for Elara, I am choosing her. Not as a companion contract, but as a person. I will find a way to make her free and to build a life with her on our terms. Not yours. Seraphina's face contorted, her carefully cultivated composure shattering. You choose her? A programmed doll? Over everything I can offer you? Over me? Her voice rose, shrill and laced with venom. You ungrateful, blind fool. She is nothing but a service. A placeholder until I could make you see sense. She's more human than you'll ever be, Seraphina, Kaito retorted, the words sharp, cutting through the last vestiges of his fear. She offers genuine connection, not manipulation. She offers solace, not control. The heiress stared at him, her eyes burning with a terrifying intensity. You will regret this, Kaito Ishikawa, she hissed, her voice dropping to a low, dangerous whisper that still somehow pierced the speakers. You have made a grave mistake. You will learn that no one defies Seraphina Thorne. No one takes what is mine. The connection severed abruptly, the screen going black, leaving a chilling echo in the silent apartment. Kaito stood there, trembling, but not from fear. It was the residue of adrenaline, the aftermath of a battle he had long avoided. He had done it. He had made his stand. He turned to Elara. She was looking at him, her eyes wide, glistening with an emotion he couldn't quite decipher. Relief? Admiration? Something deeper? Kaito-san, she began, her voice still quiet, but imbued with a new reverence. You chose me. He reached out, gently cupping her face in his hands. I did. And I always will. We'll figure this out, Elara. Together. He leaned in, a tentative, hopeful gesture, and pressed a soft kiss to her forehead. Her eyes fluttered closed for a moment, then opened, tears tracing faint paths down her cheeks. Her hands came up, not to push him away, but to grasp his forearms, holding him steady. "I believe you, Kaito-san," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. I want to be free. With you." A wave of profound relief washed over Kaito. He had not just defied Seraphina. He had opened a door to a future he hadn't dared to dream of. A future where autonomy wasn't a distant wish, but a fight he was actively pursuing, with someone he genuinely cared for by his side. They spent the rest of the morning in quiet planning, a newfound intimacy blossoming between them. Kaito began researching legal avenues, independent network providers, anything that could help him disentangle his life from ThorneTech. Elara, ever practical, started consolidating his digital presence, making backups and identifying vulnerabilities Seraphina might exploit. They were partners, united against a formidable foe. The air in the apartment felt lighter, charged with a fragile but powerful hope. But Kaito knew this was just the beginning. Seraphina Thorne was not a woman who accepted defeat. His defiance, his rejection, his choice of Elara would not be forgotten. It would only fuel her obsession, sharpen her resolve. As the Neo-Kyoto sun finally broke through the perpetual haze, casting a fleeting moment of natural light into the apartment, Kaito looked out, not with the old trepidation, but with a wary determination. He knew Seraphina was out there, somewhere in the vast, glittering expanse of the city, her gaze likely fixed on his apartment, her mind already spinning new, more dangerous webs. His future, once a predictable, lonely routine, was now an uncharted sea. But this time, he wasn't sailing alone. He had chosen his path, and he had chosen Elara. And as the distant hum of the city's omnipresent surveillance systems faded into the background, a chilling thought settled in his mind. Seraphina Thorne would not let him forget it. The game had not ended, it had merely escalated. And the next move, he suspected, would be hers.